Season 9 Necromancer, let's show off the brand new Hand of Naz unique. By the way, if you're playing on the PTR, this does not just drop in the PTR caches. You have to farm this manually, which is an absolute pain. But nonetheless, this is the one that we have over here. So what is new in Season 9 for Necromancer? We have the Hand of Naz, which grants you the special unique power where you have to sacrifice the warriors and the golems, and it's going to give you additional skeletal mages for each one sacrifice. And then when the skeletal mage attacks enemies 25 times, oh, we've got these things spawn in over here. When you actually attack 25 times with them without dying, it upgrades into a super mega skeletal archmage. So basically it becomes super powered. And then they also teleport to safety when they are attacked, and then they will occasionally shatter on impact that will deal up to 100x more damage, which will increase to the targets and up to 3 additional targets. So that's basically the one new thing in terms of an item. There are a lot of other buffs and nerfs that we'll go over, but I want to show you guys the gameplay. Keep in mind, it's going to take a second for the damage to ramp up because they have to become the super mega mage. So let's go ahead and make them the super mega mage after they attack multiple times. The build is still very active. If you're like, I want a chill minion playstyle, to be honest, you might have to look elsewhere because this is a very active playstyle. And the reason why is just like for almost every single Necromancer build, which is something I almost want to talk about. It's like every single build you have to play Blight in, right? And then Soul Rift took a mega nerf, by the way. So the main changes with this build that I want to say that you may need to make from any other content creators' builds, as I will drop a build guide, but this is mainly showing off kind of the gameplay and talking a little bit more about how I feel about the build before I drop my build guide. The build is incredibly, and I mean incredibly squishy. Blizzard decided to remove the barrier with Soul Rift, which means that Necromancer is in a terrible spot for survivability. In Diablo 3, we had this issue a couple times with a few of the different sets with Necromancer, like it just felt way too squishy. So my suggestion to Blizzard would be like, well, can we just have the barrier back? And the reason why is in this build, oh, there's a butcher, but like the build does damage. Like, where's the butcher? I don't know where he's at. Is he over there? We'll be able to one-shot the butcher. Like, the damage is not the problem with this build. The build actually does quite good damage. I don't know where the heck the butcher went, but it takes a second to ramp up, and one of the things that is kind of annoying that you may have to deal with is the AI. Oh, we have to go back and collect the little orbs. Hopefully the butcher will still be there. He will like despawn. I don't know where the heck he actually spawned in. But the main issue with this build is survivability. So I normally like to run like the Cax rune in most builds, but with this build, I would say getting the extra rogue Dark Shrouds is actually advantageous, as well as the Earthen Bulwark. There's a lot of different ways to make your character more tanky, but it will feel super squishy. And honestly, if you want like kind of a minion-ish playstyle, I say minion-ish because the Hydra build is miles ahead of this one in terms of how it feels. It also is, at the moment of me making this video, the Hydra build is down to 120. This build has, as far as I'm aware of, the highest was 90. So there is a pretty big difference between a 120 and a 90, but keep in mind, people are always climbing with certain things, and maybe someone hasn't figured out the correct formula yet. But I want to show off kind of how it feels. But the main problem that I have in general is like how the build feels in comparison to a build that's just doing the damage itself versus the minions, because the AI in this game isn't what I would consider the best in terms of it being aggressive. But now you can see the super mages. I don't know if you guys can see how much bigger they are, but there's also a thing that you can play. It's a jewel that will make your minions even bigger after they kill something. So go ahead and actually just kind of progress, and I'll show you guys the boss. You can absolutely melt the bosses. This is not a problem with this build in terms of like the new Asheroth boss. Like, there's really no problems with this build in terms of damage. It's just like it lacks like the feel of it feeling very fast because the minions are behind. I know that there's a way to teleport with all the classes, and that's probably going to get changed, so I don't want to make something that's going to absolutely just get nerfed here. This one doesn't have a boss, but I just want to show off the gameplay. Basically, you guys get the idea. The minions, they kind of take a second to get there, but they actually do perform pretty good in terms of like number damage, like especially when you're at a boss. It will not one-shot like the infinite damage barbarian, but it is okay. So again, this is the brand new item that is really good for the build. Obviously, you want the greater affix to be in the skeletal mage mastery, but I also want to talk a little bit about like other things in the build. So first off, other things that I was considering, because this is the point of this video, is kind of more of a discussion than a build guide, but I will also drop a build guide. So you can play Cax as well as Zan. These are great for damage. However, survivability was a big issue with the build. I even had a GA Shroud of False Death here with double masterworking. I guess if you get triple here, and then if you get like masterworked or GA on the Hand of Naz, that was a greater affix one, that would help out a little bit. But because you don't play Harlequin, you play the Heir of Perdition over here. That is also something to consider. The Blood Moon Breaches over here, ideally we'd have greater affix to Hellbent Commander, and we get extra crit damage over there. The boots, you definitely want to have armor in the boots, just as this is an area where you can actually get armor other than in your amulet. Because the thing is that you have to play this, because unless you want to apply your curses manually, you kind of need to run this, and then obviously it's a new build, you got to play this, and the helm slot is almost always filled with Heir of Perdition or Harlequin in any meta build, and then Shroud of False Death. So one area that I want to give Blizzard as a suggestion, because this is my feedback, is that Soul Rift just get barrier. The build feels way too squishy without it. So I am playing Q right now, as well as I am running the Mott rune, which is the dark, we're getting Dark Shroud plus the barrier in order for the build to feel tanky enough to kind of function. You could maybe get away with running like one or the other, but I just decided to go real tanky. And then I decided to go for the chill, so it's affected by a crown control. And then I decided to go for the fortify and barrier. Like I said, I felt like the build was squishy, and you might be thinking, oh, hold on, what's your resistances and stuff? I want to do it. Trust me, it's there. We have the 1000 armor, we have the max res. It just feels squishy at the end of the day, due to the HP pool not being as large as it could have been. Again, we could get HP here. I even have HP in my amulet. Again, you could get, let's say if you did get a GA on your HP here, that could help out a little bit, but if you don't have that, because you also want to get Lucky a chance to restore a primary resource in order for your, well, normally it'd be Cax, but to have these kind of proc a little bit more often, it does help out. Ideally, you'd get a greater affix for your skeletal mages to not greater affix, but a masterworked on the skeletal mages to attack twice. So we are running one of the newer things that you guys might not have tried out before if you haven't played minions in a while. I believe this came out last season. It's the Service and Sacrifice is what it's called. And so how it works is the skeleton warriors explode, but it didn't really do enough damage. Like you can do World Tier 4 content, but that was really about it. But it's basically the skeleton mages take 90% less damage and deal more damage. So it's basically a 200 multiplier, which is good. Like I said, the build does not suffer in damage department. Then what we ideally want to do, because if we sacrifice the warriors as well as the golems, we get an additional minion per sacrifice. So this actually gives us additional 3 mages and warriors, but since the warriors then get converted, you guys saw how many mages, well, it says 6, but like there's a lot more than 6. But as far as like the playstyle, it is pretty active because you need to apply vulnerability, you need to use blight for the multiplier, just like every build. This isn't necessarily going to be a build guide, but like I'm just mentioning, like you do want the greater affix on like the skeletal mage mastery ideally, and then you masterwork that. You try to get as much cooldown as possible. This build, just as a heads up, like I know I don't have triple like masterworking, but let's be real, a lot of people may not get that in a lot of different builds. So I want to say that the uptime on Soul Rift is a little bit rough. Like you would have to get, because you could only roll over here as one of the other mods, the Soul Rift duration. Maybe you can try to throw that on the utility over there as well to really try to increase the duration so it's up 100% of the time. Because this is your source of vulnerability. It does help out with the bonus. You can see that extracts souls, so it makes them vulnerable and has a fear, but it does increase your damage, which is quite nice. So if you can upkeep this, I think that would help out the build. But there's also another newer change here on the Paragon board, which I actually really like this change. So Scent of Death actually got its effect change. It no longer requires you to have a corpse or a no corpses, because it would give you basically damage reduction or more damage. But now they change it to a multiplier on critical strike damage, as that is what you're going to be scaling with the mages, because you get essence in the build, and this gives you extra crit strike damage. And then you are going to be sacrificing, so you're going to get extra crit as well with the golems. Now the other option is to forgo this crit with the golem, and then you can go and get more HP. But again, that requires you to have like HP on this isn't too bad. Instead of vulnerable, right now there's a bug on the PTR, which is actually quite frustrating. You can see over here, if I go and actually enchant this, if I enchant it, no matter what, you see how it's vulnerable, and then it's going to be vulnerable, and it's going to be vulnerable. There is like a bug right now where if you masterwork, you can't like go back. So ideally, we'd have like GA life and GA int, which isn't really that rare. Like those are like pretty common stats. And then you would just roll the chance for lucky hit for primary resource. You do not need over 100, because you can't go over 100% resource. So that is something that like definitely could be improved. But like I said, the build feels incredibly squishy overall. You could get HP here, you could get HP and GA here, we could get another GA in the brand new Hand of Naz. But I'm just telling you guys, if you go in and play this, especially if you don't have like really good gear, it's going to feel incredibly squishy, unless Blizzard changes some stuff. Because the main reason why it feels so squishy, by the way, if you're wondering like, did I just not get the life? Believe me, I got every single life node that you can get is taken. This one is I don't know why that one is tagged when I hit life, but it's because maybe they have moved some stuff. But like I said, I have every single life node. This one is like minion life. You don't need minion life in it. If they stand in AoE for too long, yeah, but for the most part they're almost immoral, unless you count like certain like bosses. But for the most part, the main big problem is that Soul Rift no longer gives you barrier. So they have a couple options. What they can do is remove, let's say, some other stat on either Blood Moon Breaches, because maybe I want to say that like the Golem Mastery might not be super necessary unless they want golems to be like the thing, maybe in the next upcoming season. But like they can add another defensive stat on Blood Moon Breaches, because you're gonna play that. Or on this item, they could just give it like a big amount of like life percent, or they can move something to give us even more survivability. The build just overall feels really squishy, is what I'm trying to really stress and tell you guys, because believe me, I understand that these are like the meta runes, but you need to have some survivability, and that's why with the Horadric powers, I try to help out with that. But anyways, that's the new Skele Mage build. Basically, they become bigger, they do more damage, number goes up. That's kind of how it works, but it takes a second to ramp up. So if you play this build and it doesn't like instantly do damage, just remember, every single one it needs to attack 25 times, and then it upgrades into the mega one. And most people will play reanimation, so the minion gets increased damage while alive, up to 60x after 10 seconds. So they have to survive for 10 seconds, that's not a big deal, because they teleport when they would get attacked, and then they have to attack 25 times, and then you get this ramp up bonus, and then the build feels a lot better. There's also the corpse consumption, but the thing is that you can also run the orb, or you can run Flesh Eater, which will give you another multiplier. But overall, like I said, the build's not bad in terms of damage, but I would say if you like the minion playstyle, the Hydra build is superior, because, well, the sword feels not squishy, and it's just kind of overall faster, unless you count the like thing that people were doing where you can just teleport with every build, which I would say is probably going to get nerfed, because it's too OP, man. But yeah, you could throw in a defensive aspect in the amulet if you want to. That would be another area. But then you're losing out on 6 mages. I don't think that that's worth it, because you also kind of like the skeletal priest. Because the thing is that even though the Hydra build is like something where you have to push the button to the Hydra come out, you still have to activate the priest where it gives it the bonus, and then you still have to activate, well, if you need corpse, you can use this. You still need to apply the vulnerability, you still need to apply this, you need to consume corpses, like you still have to interact. These designs of the minions in Diablo 4 are all very active playstyles. There's not like necessarily like a just kind of walking simulator, if you will, which is kind of what, you know, I think some people do want. But that's a new minion build with the brand new Hand of Naz for next season. I'll update you guys with a build guide, and then if there's any suggestions, let me know with this. Other than, yes, I get it, we should probably put these in, we probably should get some GAs, but for now, it still feels really squishy. I would say if you had maybe the 2 more HP rolls, it could be a little bit better. But I was even locking in with like the potion, and it didn't feel good until I threw in like these in particular. Anyways, that's the new Necromancer summoning build for Season 9.